Hi, this is Brian Wickland with Garfinkel Schwartz. I'm coming to you today from our Maitland, Florida office. We also have offices in Cocoa Beach, Florida, which is in the Space Coast on the east coast of Florida. I'm coming to you today to explain what the War Hazards Act is. I know that a lot of people don't know what that is or never heard of it, especially most of the lawyers that I know socially. They're like, what on earth is that? Well, the War Hazards Act works like this in normal, regular layman's terms. If you have a Defense-Based Act case, you're an overseas contractor. AIG or CNA or Zurich or one of those companies is liable to pay the insurance for your federal workers' comp claim. What happens is, if they can prove afterwards, if they lose the case, or if we settle the case, they can prove afterwards and file a separate action, which is called a subrogation action. And all that means is they're suing someone else to get money that they paid out. And what that is they file a claim under the War Hazards Act if they can prove that the overseas contractor under the Defense-Based Act was in an area of war or an area of conflict. Usually this arises if an IED explosion occurred, if you're on a military base that was attacked, if you're shot, if you fell out of a helicopter over enemy lines, things like that involve a conflict. Then any American citizen is entitled to benefits from the federal government directly through the War Hazards Act. So what happens is, the reason I'm telling you this is that if you're involved and you get injured, say in Iraq or Afghanistan or somewhere where there's an active conflict, sooner or later, if we end up settling your claim under the Defense-Based Act, the Defense-Based Act is going to ask us to work on their side and help them prove their claim so they can get all or portion of their money back from the government. And so they'll end up having to pay nothing. This happens a lot, especially in clients that have PTSD, because PTSD is probably usually the things that have been seen and witnessed are part of an act of war. The things witnessed and the horrible events that people had to go through to develop PTSD are usually in some type of a war or combat type situation. So what I'm telling you is, right off the bat, if something happens and you're involved in a conflict, and it seems like it was a military conflict, the best thing you can do for your claim is to make sure that you can prove through pictures or otherwise or witnesses, and remember them, exactly where you were, what base you were on, what outpost you were on, your exact location. Because if they can place you at that location, and then we can help them prove that there was an actual act of conflict that has been recorded to the military or any other means that the employer knows about, that the insurance company can use to prove to get their money back, then they're obviously more apt to work for us rather than against us once it gets to the litigation level. People don't tell you that. They don't really want to advertise that they get all their money back or most of their money back from the government even after they're supposed to be on the hook for this. But that's what the law is. They're kind of corresponding laws with each other. And so if you have any questions, please call me immediately after something happens if you have my name. If not, just make sure that you document exactly where you were, exactly who you think the insurgents were, who was responsible for the bomb or the shooting, or whatever enemy lines you're in, so we can help the employer and insurance company get their money back. In other words, at some point in time, if we can help them, the case will flip around and they'll actually be advocating on our behalf, because they have to prove that they're justified in paying us a settlement or justified in going to court and trying the case. So just a little tidbit, remember that, the War Hazards Act, that's what it is. And again, this is Brian Wickland. If you have any questions, you can call me anytime, 24 hours a day. Signing out here at Garfinkel Schwartz from the Maitland office. Thank you.